The sun was setting behind the ridges of the Wyoming hills, painting the ranchland in deep amber and blood-red hues. The air was heavy with dust and the low hum of crickets as the rancher, Luke Callahan, guided his horse back to the corral after a long day's ride. He was a man of few words, his hands scarred and rough, his eyes the color of worn leather, eyes that had seen both mercy and sin. Folks around town called him the Quiet Storm, not because he spoke little, but because when he did, people listened. He carried a silence that made men uneasy, a silence that hinted at memories better left buried. Luke dismounted, brushing the dirt off his jacket, when he saw a figure standing by the fence. The dusk light made it hard to tell who it was, but something about the way she stood, tall, poised, yet trembling slightly, made his heartbeat shift. He stepped closer, the wooden boards creaking beneath his boots. "Can I help you, miss?" he asked, voice calm but guarded. The woman didn't answer right away. Her hat tilted low, hiding her face. Her coat was travel-worn, her boots covered in trail dust. "You don't remember me, do you, Luke?" she said finally, her voice low and steady, but carrying a sting that cut through the still air. He frowned, trying to place her voice. "Can't say I do," he replied. "But I reckon you've come a long way to ask me that." She stepped closer into the dying light. And that's when he saw her face, striking yet shadowed by sorrow. Her dark hair fell over her shoulders, and her eyes were sharp enough to draw blood. There was something haunting about her, something that reached into a part of his soul he'd long tried to silence. "You should remember," she said, her hand slipping into her coat pocket, "because this belongs to you." When her hand came out, she was holding a single bullet. But this wasn't just any bullet, carved into its casing was a name, etched deep by hand. Luke's name. The sight froze him. For a long moment, the world around them fell silent, no wind, no horses, no movement. Just that bullet glinting in the fading light and the woman's eyes burning through him. "I don't understand," he muttered, but deep down, a part of him already did. Memories started clawing their way up from the dark, gunfire in the rain, a burning barn, a deal gone wrong, and a woman's scream echoing into the night. "I told myself I'd find you," she said, her voice shaking now. "Even if it took years. You might not remember my face, but you remember what you did." Luke's jaw clenched. "If you came here looking for revenge, I'm afraid you're late. The man I was back then, he's dead." She gave a bitter laugh. "No, Luke Callahan. The man you were is standing right in front of me. And the dead, they don't carve names into bullets." The rancher took a step back, eyes fixed on the metal glinting in her hand. He could almost feel the weight of it pressing against his chest. "Tell me who you are," he said softly. "My name's Elena," she said, voice trembling between rage and heartbreak. "And 5 years ago, you put that bullet through my father's shoulder. You left him bleeding in the dust while you rode away with men who called it justice." Luke's breath caught. The name struck something deep inside him. "Elena Ramirez," he whispered. "Your father. He was part of the Red Mesa gang. He killed my partner." Her eyes flashed. "No. He tried to protect a family from being slaughtered. You kicked down the wrong door. Luke. You followed the wrong man's orders, and my father paid for it. He lived, but he never walked again. You ruined his life." The silence that followed was heavier than lead. The wind picked up, carrying the distant cry of coyotes. As Luke turned away, gripping the fence post like it could steady the storm inside him. "You don't know the full story," he said finally. "I was ordered to take that shot. The sheriff said." "The sheriff lied." She snapped. "He used you, and you let him. And now you want me to believe the man who shot my father feels sorry?" Luke looked back at her, eyes filled with something she didn't expect, guilt. "I ain't proud of what I've done. I've spent every day since then trying to make up for it. I left that life behind. I swore I'd never draw a gun again." Elena stared at him, searching his face for deceit. But all she saw was a man hollowed out by the past. Still, her anger burned too deep to let go. "Then why keep your name carved on a bullet?" she asked coldly. He looked at her hand, his voice quiet as the wind. Because I wanted to remember what I deserved. Her breath caught, the answer wasn't what she expected. She thought she'd come to face a monster. But instead she found a man already haunted by his own ghosts. The bullet trembled in her palm as the realization cut through her fury. I came here to kill you, she confessed, voice breaking. I've carried this bullet across 3 states. Through dust storms and nights I almost gave up. But now, I don't even know who the real enemy is anymore. Luke stepped closer. The distance between them closing like the end of a long journey. Maybe it ain't about enemies anymore, he said softly. Maybe it's about what comes after. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away. You think you can just walk free? That saying sorry will fix what you did? He shook his head. No. But maybe helping you will. The two stood in silence, the world fading around them. The sun was gone now, leaving only the glow of the lantern hanging by the barn. In that dim light, Luke's face looked older. Wearier, a man ready to face whatever judgment she decided. She looked at the bullet again, then slowly turned it over in her palm. He still has nightmares, you know, she said. My father. He still wakes up screaming your name. Luke swallowed hard. Then maybe you should tell him I remember now. And that I'm sorry. The words hung between them like a prayer. Finally, Elena closed her hand around the bullet and stepped back. I don't forgive you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Not yet. But maybe. Maybe I'll let time decide if I should. Luke nodded, his heart heavy but somehow lighter than before. You came here for answers, Elena. You deserve them all. If you want the truth, the real truth about that night, come back tomorrow. I'll tell you everything. She hesitated, then turned away, her silhouette fading into the dark. I'll be back, Callahan. Don't make me regret it. As her footsteps disappeared into the night, Luke looked down at the ground where she'd stood. There, glinting faintly in the dirt, was something small and metallic, the bullet she'd dropped. The one with his name. He picked it up slowly, feeling the chill of the metal bite into his skin. He turned toward the horizon, where the first stars were breaking through. Guess the past doesn't forget easy, he murmured. But maybe it don't have to end in blood. And with that, the rancher pocketed the bullet. The ghosts of his past whispering on the wind. And walked back toward the house, toward the reckoning waiting for him come. Morning light spilled over the ranch as Elena returned. Dust rising beneath her boots. Luke waited by the porch, holding the bullet she'd left behind. You came back, he said quietly. I need the truth, she answered. He told her everything, how the sheriff framed her father to cover his own crime. Tears filled her eyes, anger giving way to sorrow. Then you've carried his guilt all this time, she whispered. Luke nodded. Help me make it right. For the first time. She didn't see a killer, she saw a man seeking redemption. The past had found its peace. And forgiveness, though distant, finally felt possible.